we're going to talk about paint. There's a lot of psychology behind paint color selection. So I'm going to go through and kind of tell you the psychology, how the paint color can make you feel, what spaces it works best in. And again, these are just very basic tips and tricks. That doesn't mean that it can't be done other ways, but we're trying to get you to be able to feel comfortable in this process. And if you follow these steps, it should be a no-brainer. So let's talk about colors. And I am going to read off of my screen, so don't judge me for that. I can't remember everything. Let's talk about red. Red is a color of passion, excitement, and love. However, it can also invoke a feeling of anger. And by the way, these are all studies that have been done by some professor of color, I guess, somewhere. But anyhow, I am in agreement with most of these things. Actually, probably all of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be telling you. So take it for what it's worth. But each of these colors does evoke a feeling because red is the most stimulating color. It can also enhance your metabolism. So maybe in a living room or dining room or on an accent wall, red would be a good way to go. Pink is obviously a soft and reserved color. It is more feminine if you go by traditional thought processes. However, pink is making a huge comeback right now. And if you use them in more of a neutral environment, not bright screaming pink, I'm talking like subdued pink, that can work really well in your space. Purple is considered a mysterious and glamorous color, which maybe there should be more purple in my house, but there's not. But it's supposed to increase focus. It's a nurturing color and use it in muted tones. I'm not talking like Barney purple. I'm talking like a purple with a lot of gray or brown in it to bring it down to a color you could actually tolerate looking at it in your house. So if you want to go with purple, do it in a muted version. Bedroom would be a great place to use it, or a home office, or maybe even in a finished basement in some accent places. Let's talk about blue. Blue is a really popular color right now, although it is starting to go and be replaced a little bit by green, but we still love blue. Blue is a color that invokes wisdom, peace, serenity. Probably no big shock there. It's got a calming, sedative effect. It, however, does reduce appetite. So maybe if you're on a diet, blue is a great color for your kitchen. Bedroom, family room, great place to use blue. You just got to be careful that if you are in a northern environment or you have north facing windows, you don't pick a super cool blue because that can actually then look really cold. We don't want that. Green, obviously, is a color that evokes thoughts of nature and is tranquil. It's actually, studies have shown, again, I don't know who are doing these studies, but studies have shown that green is the easiest on the eye for people to see. So therefore, green ends up being one of the most liked colors out there. It can improve your creativity, relax muscles, and has a calming effect. So it's good for dining rooms, kitchens, bedrooms, maybe probably even bathrooms. Blue too. Forgot to say that. Blue's a good one for bathrooms. Okay, let's talk about yellow. That's one of the scarier colors. It can go wrong really, really easily. So be super careful. Hope and joy is what is evoked by the color yellow. However, it also has an anxiety effect depending on what shade of yellow you're using. So it increases mental activity, which may be why it's kind of anxiety inducing. It encourages communication, and studies have shown that it actually can make babies cry more, which I have no idea why. Again, studies. So maybe don't paint the nursery yellow, although I did, worked out fine. So just be careful with yellows. At the end, I'm going to give you some paint colors specifically by name that are good yellows that you can use if that is the direction you want to go. Orange is a color of warmth and energy. It increases your energy levels, stimulates appetite, and it's great for social areas like a living room or dining room. Orange, again, don't do screaming orange. We're going to do subdued oranges with a lot of brown tone, beige undertones, so it's not in your face. Again, it's not commonly used, but if you really, really are heart set on it, just remember those little tips. Brown is a color of stability and security. Natural browns and beiges add an organic and calming feeling to almost any space. So those are great for family rooms, living rooms, offices. White, which is really popular lately, evokes truth and cleanliness, and it helps you improve your memory retention and to be more focused and organized. And be careful with white. There are a zillion whites, which you wouldn't think, but there are, because there are beige undertones, pink undertones, green undertones, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to give you some whites that are foolproof later on. Gray, again, super popular lately, although I think we're starting to lean more towards warm tones again in the beige world. But anyways, it invokes the feeling of elegance and versatility and is associated with wisdom and intellect. So maybe that's why I painted my office gray, so I look smarter. Warm grays are called grayish and tend to be more stimulating, while cool grays evoke feelings of calmness. So that's an overall use in the home in pretty much any room. It's just going to depend on the color of gray that you choose, which again, I'll go through that in a little bit. So those are the basic colors that I wanted to talk about today and give you kind of the thought process behind where these colors are best used. Again, totally up to you. I'm just giving you a tried and true idea. So again, this is to help you. If you disagree, go for it. Try something. It's only paint. Paint over it. So now we're going to talk about selecting your base colors for your room. Always start with some kind of neutral. If you paint your house in 6 different colors, it's going to look like a playroom. I don't know. It's going to look terrible. So don't do that. The best way to do paint colors is to select a neutral, a beige, a gray, a light brown, and then add pops of color in different rooms, like your dining room, a powder room, maybe your kitchen. So that way you don't have colors just exploding from all over every room in your house. That would be crazy. So one tool that I like is Sherwin-Williams Paint Fan Deck. Personally, I'm a Sherwin-Williams girl because their colors tend to be really true to the samples that they show. They don't muddy, and it's a good quality paint. But that being said, I'm not a Sherwin-Williams spokesperson, so if you like Behr or Porter, whatever, go for it. Another tip is they can color match. So if you find a Sherwin-Williams or Behr or whatever color that you like, you can take it to the store, like a Lowe's, Home Depot, paint store, and they can do a color match. So the number one thing I want to say is stay away from this section of the fan deck. Just don't do it. Walk away. Just say no. These are colors that are very bright and have their place in design, but we're not going to do it. That can go wrong really fast. So here's where we're going to live. We are going to live in the neutral world where you can see there's still some color, but it's not crazy in your face color. These are very safe yet beautiful. So again, this is where we're living. They also have a white section. Remember when I said there's a lot of whites? So here we go. There's a lot of whites, which I think is crazy, but they all have their place. And as you can probably see from your screen, tons of undertones, but don't worry. I'm going to give you the whites that I like. So paint fan decks are fantastic tools. You can take them to stores to look at against furniture. You can put them in the rooms in your house and look at them with the furniture that you currently have. And that takes me to another tip and trick. Most of the paint brands have online ordering where you can order samples. I know, again, I'm back to Sherwin-Williams, not the only one, but they have great tools that you can use. You can now order the samples that have the sticky back that you can put on the walls in your house when you're choosing. They have just paper samples that you can look at again, and I just use painter's tape and tape them to my wall. Sometimes I'll get like 4 samples, tape them all side by side so I can see it in a bigger patch on the wall. The other important thing is lighting. So a color changes with whatever lighting you have in that room. That's why you should never, never, never go to Lowe's and stand there with their bright fluorescent lights, look at a paint color and say, yes, this is it. You always take a sample. They even have little $5 samples you can buy of actual paint and paint it on the wall if you really want to get crazy. So look at it though in the light in that room, tape it to the wall, paint it on the wall, and look at it in different times of day. Your morning light and your evening light and your nighttime light that's only lamps or overheads are going to make it look totally different. So make sure that that is a step you take, critical. Just do it. Trust me. So again, you take it home, you look at it with your furniture. If you have, 5 samples of gray that you are trying to decide between, take them, put them on your couch, put them on the floor, on your carpet, whatever is something that you're trying to coordinate with. Put them all side by side and step back. And I like to call it the squinty eye test. You just kind of squint your eyes, look, and I guarantee you immediately there will be some that stand out that are like, nope. So you take them out of there, move them back together, and just process of elimination, keep going. And you are going to end up with the one that you feel like looks best for the room. And I'm sure you're right. And the other question I get a lot is, what sheen of paint should I do in a room? So in a nutshell, the best way to think about it is if you have an older home that has a lot of irregularities in the walls, like nail pops or cracks or whatever, waviness, use a flat paint if at all possible. That is the most forgiving. Now, it's not the most cleanable, but it is the most forgiving so those things don't stand out. For the most part, I use satin finish or eggshell. I still don't know the difference, but for some reason, there's 2 different names. I use those because they're more cleanable and they have a slight sheen, but it's not in your face, shiny or glossy. So satin is kind of my go-to unless there's a really good reason to use flat. Semi-gloss is for your trim, your door casing, your window casing. That is the best place to use it. However, also on a fireplace mantle is good. Any kind of trim pieces that maybe could handle a little more shine, and also super, super cleanable. The next one is gloss. Just don't. Just stay away from gloss. It has its place, but unless you really know what you're doing, it's going to look crazy. So just skip it. Trust me. So now that you've got this part figured out, you're headed to the paint store and you're like, oh, wait a minute. How much paint do I buy? So do the math before you go so you know. And 1 gallon of paint covers approximately 350 square feet of wall. Now, that's not saying, let's say your dining room is screaming red right now and you're trying to go over it with like an off-white, you're going to need more paint. But that's just a rule of thumb. And I particularly like Sherwin-Williams Duration because it is a high quality paint. It's not their top of the line, which is incredibly expensive, but it has a built-in primer. So it will hide a lot of what you're covering. But again, if you are covering some crazy bright color, some really deep color, you're probably going to have to roll on primer first. And primer is way less expensive than paint. So I would recommend priming those crazy colors before you try and paint over top of it. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot more money. So that is my little 2 cents on that. Most important thing though is the execution. So maybe don't have that glass of wine or shot of tequila before you start painting, even though it sounds like it'd be super fun. Painting jobs are critical to make it look professionally done. If you need to tape off ceilings and trim, tape it off. Make sure you run your fingernail along it so that you truly have a crisp line. Another product I found is Sureline, and it's in your paint department, like at Lowe's or Home Depot. And it's this little sponge thing that runs along, tracking the ceiling or the baseboard with a little wheel, and it gives you a nice crisp line. And then you roll your paint. So that is, in a nutshell, how to select your paint color. I told you before, I promised that I would tell you my favorite colors to go with that are foolproof. I've used them a million times, and if you pick one of these, you can't go wrong. Disclaimer, maybe you can, but I don't think you can. Okay, get ready to screenshot. I have the paint colors that are tried and true. I have personally used them on many of my jobs. You can go to the store, get the samples of these, bring them home, and try them in your room. Again, lighting is really important because it can change the color, and we don't want that. So again, doing a little screenshot, and you can print it out, put it in a Word document and print it out, and take it to the store with you if you want and see what these look like. And hopefully one of them is exactly what you're looking for. So hopefully this helps, and I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.